Hey there. Ever feel like your brain is just a browser with way too many tabs open? You know the feeling. You sit down to get one thing done, and poof, an hour's just vanished into this black hole of notifications, emails, and oh yeah, just one more video. Trust me, you are not alone. So let's dive in and explore the forces that are battling for your focus, and more importantly, figure out how to actually fight back. I mean, this is the question of our time, isn't it? Why is it so hard to just focus? It really feels like our ability to concentrate on one single thing has been totally shredded. We know we're supposed to focus, but that pull of distraction, it's just irresistible. But what if I told you the real answer is both simpler and a whole lot more complex than you might think? 12 minutes. Just let that sink in for a second. 12 minutes. According to some pretty solid research from Ofcom, that's the average time a person goes between checking their smartphone while they're awake. I mean, think about that. Seriously, when was the last time you went more than 12 minutes without feeling that little twitch to check your phone? It's this nonstop cycle of breaking up our attention, and it is literally rewiring our brains. So that brings us right to our first big idea here. This isn't just, a bad habit. No, it's a full-blown modern condition. We're living in this constant state of distraction, and believe me, it has some very real, very profound consequences for how we think and feel. And yeah, this state actually has a name. It's called continuous partial attention. A consultant named Linda Stone came up with it, and it absolutely nails what we're going through. It's this feeling of being always on, always alert, just constantly scanning for the next email, the next like, the next breaking news alert. We're right here, physically, but our mind, it's always somewhere else, never really fully landing on any one thing. And the cost of all this constant scanning? It's staggering. Seriously, look at this. Research by a Dr. Glenn Wilson found that just being constantly interrupted by emails and calls caused a 10-point drop in IQ. Okay, so a 10-point drop, what does that even mean? Well, to put it into perspective, that is more than double the 5-point drops they find in studies on smoking marijuana. Let that sink in. Our digital habits are literally making us dumber in the moment. Okay, so why is all this happening? I'll tell you one thing. It is not an accident. Not at all. It is by design. Why? Because your attention has become one of the most valuable commodities on the entire planet. And there is a massive global economy built for one reason and one reason only, to capture it. And this is the absolute core of the problem. It's called the attention economy. The basic idea is pretty simple when you think about it. In a world that's just overflowing with information, what's the one thing that's actually limited? Our attention. It's a scarce resource. And just like any scarce resource, it has immense value. So you've got everyone from social media giants to news outlets in this ferocious all-out war for every single second of your focus. And you know what's crazy? This is not a new idea, not even close. An economist and Nobel Prize winner named Herbert A. Simon said this all the way back in 1971. 1971. He totally saw this coming. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. He knew, even then, that the real challenge wasn't about getting more information, it was about filtering out the noise. And what have we done? We've built the exact opposite. So how do they do it? Well, these platforms are meticulously, brilliantly engineered to keep you hooked. I mean, every single notification, that endless scroll, every like you get, it's all designed to give your brain a tiny little hit of dopamine. It's the exact same reward system that's involved in addiction. And you've heard this before, but it's so true. They're not selling you a product. You are the product, and it's your attention that's being sold off to the highest bidder. Okay, let's talk about one of the biggest myths to come out of this whole environment, the idea that we can do it all at once. This so-called skill of multitasking, it turns out it's one of the biggest, sneakiest drains on our energy and focus. All right, let's just clear this up once and for all. All the science, from neuroscience to cognitive psychology, is crystal clear on this. Humans do not multitask. It's just not a thing our brains do. What we think is multitasking is actually something called rapid task switching. Every time you jump from that report you're writing to your email and then back again, your brain has to slam on the brakes, disengage, and then re-engage on the new thing. And every single one of those switches costs. And here are the receipts. This is the price we pay right here. All the research shows that task switching makes you take longer to finish things, you make more mistakes, you remember less of what you just did, and the quality of your work just tanks.
There was even this one study that found people were 17% less likely to pick the best candidate when reviewing resumes if they were interrupted. We think we're being so efficient, right? But what we're really doing is sabotaging ourselves. And look, the costs go way beyond just our own personal productivity. The attention economy has these massive societal consequences, what economists call negative externalities. We're talking about widespread social media addiction, which is being linked to skyrocketing rates of anxiety and depression. We're talking about a system where fake news and disinformation can be amplified for profit. And it has fueled the explosion of surveillance capitalism, where our personal data is just vacuumed up and sold, usually without us even really knowing.
Okay, but here's where the whole story takes a really interesting turn. Because after everything we've talked about, the notifications, the algorithms, all of it, what if? What if that's not the real problem? What if all that tech is just the escape route? And this is the crucial insight. This is the game changer. At its core, distraction isn't about the technology. It's about escaping psychological discomfort. It's about running away from feelings we don't want to feel. The technology? It's just the most effective, most available, most potent escape tool humanity has ever invented. Which leads to a really powerful question we have to ask ourselves. What are we running from? The next time you feel that overwhelming urge to grab your phone while you're in the middle of something, just pause for 1 second and ask yourself, what feeling am I trying to get away from right now? And a lot of the time, the answer is going to be one of these things. These are the internal triggers. We reach for our phone when we're bored, or lonely, or anxious about a deadline, or maybe we're just stuck on a project and don't know what to do next. That little scroll, that quick refresh, it gives us instant relief from that uncomfortable feeling. So when you think about it, time management isn't really about managing time. It's about managing pain. So how do we actually deal with this? Well, instead of fighting the tech, we have to learn to manage the trigger. And there's a simple 4-step mindful technique that is incredibly powerful. Step 1, just notice the urge. Don't act on it, just see it. Step 2, get curious. Ask yourself, okay, what am I really feeling right now? Maybe you say, there's that feeling of boredom again. Step 3, acknowledge it without judgment. Just let it be there. And finally, step 4, just take a few deep breaths. Allow the feeling to be there, and often you'll be amazed, it'll just pass. All right, so now that we get what's really going on, we can actually start to fight back effectively. And it's basically a two-front war, right? You've got to manage your external world, your tech, and you've got to manage your internal world, yourself. So let's get into some practical strategies. First up, the external fixes. This is all about making your environment serve you, not the other way around. So turn off every single notification that isn't from a real human you actually need to hear from. Use those do not disturb or focus modes on your phone. They're lifesavers. Stop checking email constantly. Schedule it like an appointment. If you're feeling really brave, delete the most addictive apps right off your phone. And here's a great tip. Before you get interrupted, use a ready-to-resume plan. Just jot down real quick what you'll do next when you come back. It makes getting back into the flow so much easier. Okay, now for the internal work. This is all about building that mental muscle. First, practice that 4-step mindful response to those urges we talked about. Try the 5 more rule. When you feel like giving up on a task, just tell yourself, okay, just 5 more minutes. It's amazing how often that works. And this one is huge. Create an identity pact. Instead of saying, I'm trying to be less distracted, start telling yourself, I am indistractable. Making it part of who you are, that's unbelievably powerful. And so this is where we land. Because reclaiming your focus, it's not really about just getting more stuff done. It's about agency. It's about taking back control and deciding what gets to occupy your limited, precious time on this earth. So once you've built the skills to protect your attention, you're left with this really profound, really empowering question. The real question is, now that you know how to protect it, what is your attention truly for? What will you choose to do with it?